Hello, I'm Sonja Styblo. I'm a board member of the nonprofit Benzodiazepine Information Coalition, and I'm also a social worker. In this short video, I'm going to address the use of the expression cold turkey within the benzodiazepine as prescribed harmed community. It's primarily intended for people within that group or community, but it may also be useful for those outside of it as well. The expression cold turkey is problematic to awareness efforts. We know that language is critical to social movements. In our particular one, we've seen this, for example, with the conflation of addiction language and dependency language. For one, cold turkey is addiction language. It's associated with that whole world. It comes from the same lexicon. That's one reason why it would be helpful to stop describing as prescribed harm with addiction associations. One reason why we feel it's important to distinguish as prescribed harm from addiction harm is that the sad fact is that addiction often puts the onus of blame from medical systems onto the patient. It shouldn't, but it does. That's one more uphill battle the as prescribed community does not need. Needless to say, addiction and as prescribed harm are two different issues. They also therefore require two separate public health responses. That's another reason why it's important to distinguish the two problems. In Massachusetts, we have an informed consent bill for this class of drug, and powerful psychiatrists who testified against it, not only one tried to tie harm coming from this class of drug to abuse, they also said that harm is properly addressed through following slow tapering guidelines. We know that it can certainly be a mitigating helpful factor, but it's not adequate. It's not an adequate solution to this public health problem. People can be tapering for a really long time and still experience severe symptoms. Even if they do not experience severe symptoms, they can have their lives completely put on hold through quote-unquote slow tapering or following tapering guidelines. This is overwhelmingly supported through patient experience, but moreover also the research supports this as well. Whenever I personally try to raise awareness to blind audiences of benzodiazepine as prescribed harm, people almost always make a point about the harm must be coming from people cold turkeying or coming off too fast and not following tapering guidelines. Part of the reason they say that is because our own community says that expression over and over again, even if they are describing following what's out there for medical guidelines, because they consider them too fast. I'm certainly not advocating for people to lie. Perhaps, you have stopped taking your prescription completely abruptly and you had problems. In that case, I think that you should just be forthcoming about that. But you can do that in a way that avoids the expression cold turkey. So then what should we do then if we're not going to use that expression? We advocate that you just be completely factual. You could say, for instance, I followed medical guidelines and tapered over 4 weeks and I still had all these horrific symptoms. Or if you did not follow medical guidelines and you completely stopped your prescription, you could just say that. Let's just let this expression go. If you see other people within the as prescribed harm community using expression cold turkey, it might be a good idea just to remind them, hey, check your language. That's not helpful to awareness efforts.